Hi there, and welcome to the Curious Collective podcast, conversations designed for the conscious community to bring awareness to those holistic practices to help us live our best life. So, tap into the knowledge and wisdom of our guests to extract what you need to heal, transform, and live as your true soulful self. So, today with us, we have the amazing Joe, who is the founder of something I've recently stumbled across, which is called Lovefest. So, welcome, Joe. We actually met in a very strange way through an online incongruency, which we ended up being friends from. So I'm very grateful that you stumbled into my life. And I'm so grateful also that you could come on this podcast. So tell us, introduce yourself, and what is it that makes your heart sing?
Thank you, Katie. I'm really grateful to be here. So my name is Joe Figliano. I am founder of Lovefest and Lovefest Australia. And what makes my heart sing is to really bring people together to connect for something really good that's going to impact their lives for the better and help to bring transformation and positive change in their lives and those around them as well, so we can spread more love around the world.
Oh, and that speaks to my soul because my top values, Joe, are community, connection, and collaboration. So perfect. And how did you get to be doing this sort of work? Like, what was your journey to get to this space?
So it all started for me when I was about 23. I was a software developer and I had developed symptoms in my body that were pretty unhealthy. So I went and got some examinations, and the results were that I remember sitting down with a specialist and he looked me straight in the eye and said, "Joe, you have Crohn's disease." And I didn't know what it was. And I was in a bit of shock because he said to me that I'm going to have it for the rest of my life. And so what Crohn's disease is, it's an inflammatory bowel disease that affects the entire digestive system, especially my intestines. And I have all sorts of problems come from that, including pain, intestinal pain, and having problems going to the bathroom, etc. And the biggest shock was the fact that I was going to have for the rest of my life, right? So, what he did is he put me on medication, and over the next 10 years, I went on a number of different types of medication that
Trial and
was
erroring.
sorry?
Just medical trial and error.
Trial and error, yeah. I was like a guinea pig, pretty much,
Mm.
and it reached the point where, I got so angry because I was told that I was high risk of bowel cancer, that I needed surgery to cut up a part of my bowel and have a colostomy bag to go to the bathroom in. And, I struggled to even lay down. I struggled to even jump around and play with my daughter. I had to lay down and read the alphabet to her
Just
because I was like
extreme fatigue.
exhausted, fatigue, the pain. And I reached this point, like that anger. I remember driving away from the surgeon's office, and I remember the gleaming his eyes when he was looking at me. He was like ready to pounce and do surgery on me. He was like excited about it. And I'm like, this just sounds ridiculous. There's got to be a way. There needs to be another way. Like they said that there's no cure. They said even if this after the surgery, it's likely to come back. So there's still even no cure after that. And I started questioning and saying, well, who's this person to tell me that there is no cure? Who is the medical industry to tell me that there is no cure? Like, this is my body. What if there is a cure? What if there is a way?
Yes, I love that you got curious. So, so good.
Yeah, thanks. And it was still scary because I started saying that to some people and they were telling me, "Oh, you're not God. You're not a doctor. Who do you think you are?" But I just,
Cut.
yeah, that's it. That my anger just got, I'm just like, nah, that's it. I'm doing this. There's got to be something. It's happened. What could it be? How could this be? How can
It's
that
like it
happen?
ignited a fire within you.
That's right. So in some way it was like a gift because of that, it sent me on this path, on this new journey in my life. And it began by, like, I had read books by Deepak Chopra about the 7 spiritual laws of success. I had read about how, visualization can help us, and how the mind can heal the body. So I learned different modalities, like I did meditation and yoga, and I looked at, um, you know, my emotions more because I was taught, as a child that it's not good to cry and, be stronger. You're better than that, whatever.
So
And
you were
so then
like
I started,
deepening your own experience through this wanting to know more.
Yeah, that's right. Because I started asking myself the question,
Mm.
what could it be to heal? I started getting all these different answers and things, and natural herbs, in Chinese medicine, changing diet as well. That was a small thing in comparison to the other things that I did. I did change diet and exercise, and I stopped eating so much processed foods and so much sugar. I ate so much less of that, and less fried foods, and started eating more green veggies, more than anything, and protein, lean protein foods. And that really helped, quite a lot. It helped me to create the right condition,
Mm.
But I also looked at my spirituality, connected to nature more, went for walks more, stopped and smelled the roses. Nature became a beautiful, and gratitude was huge for me. Like every day I would wake up and say, thank you for my health. Thank you for my perfect health, because I can walk, I can talk, I can eat still, even though it's difficult, I can still do it. I still thank you for the roof over my head, and thank you for my clothes. So this gratitude, this is like an attitude of gratitude, right?
Yeah, I
So
like that.
that just permeated through me. Like it was difficult to get started, but once I got into a routine, now it's natural for me every
Started to
day.
flow. Yeah.
The gratitude, and then the biggest thing for me was the emotions, however, because I feel that it's not something that I used to do. So I had to teach myself and train myself how to feel, those deeper, darker emotions, which includes the guilt and shame,
Yeah.
and how to just allow myself to be with it and just give myself love, the self-love that I gave from just being with myself no matter what, and holding
Yeah.
myself.
I'd love to talk a little bit more into the emotion stuff there, because I feel it's so interesting when you explore the emotions and where they sit in the body. Like guilt and shame sort of sit around the sacral and the solar plexus. So it's all around that area that sort of was your digestive system, which was moving down into the bowel. So, to visit those and sit with those emotions would have been a huge part of your healing.
Definitely. I would say it was, if I was to put it down to the biggest part, it was probably that. If I was to put it down to one word, I'd say it's love.
Mm.
But if I was to say, out of the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, the physical, the emotional was the most important one
Yeah.
for me. And it was that, exactly what you're saying, Katie. Feeling into my guilt and shame and just accepting it. And it was the hardest part as well.
Mm.
It was because I try to distract myself from it. And when I talk to a lot of other people about it, it's almost as though they don't want to hear it either.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Yes, I have actually felt that too, that they go, no, the emotions are meant to be in that box on the shelf. Like, we're not talking about that. We're leaving it on the shelf. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
no, we're talking about that.
Yeah. That's exactly it. They'll talk about, because they'll talk about other places, like the diet. What diet did you have? Oh, this is that.
Mm.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I'll work on that. But it wasn't the diet that was the biggest thing. It was the emotions. Oh yeah. And the conversation just keeps
Crickets.
going. So and I understand why, because
Mm.
for some people, it can be really tormenting
Yeah.
to go into that in the
And
beginning.
and people are uncomfortable feeling uncomfortable. So sitting,
Yeah,
I call it sitting in the shit. And sometimes
sitting.
that's not, a nice feeling, but it's you get rewarded from doing the work.
That's right. Exactly. Like, because it's like going through, yeah, you're sitting in the shit, and then you gotta walk and then walk, and
Mm.
eventually you get out of it. And once you get out of it, it's like all this
A lightness.
water, cleansing, lightness, and then this new way of being and magic comes
Mm.
out of that. I call it magic because
Yeah.
it opens me up to this new way of being every time. And it
Mm.
still happens. It's a journey. It's not something that ends. Like
Absolutely.
through this journey, I became symptom free after 18 months. I put my mission was to be symptom free after 12 months, but it took me 18 months.
That's still awesome.
It is, right? And I've been symptom free now for about 13 years.
Oh, that's so good.
All right. And so, but that journey has continued for me over these 13 years.
The evolution of Joe.
The evolution of Joe, yeah. And so there are other people that I've connected with that have done this as well, but it's a rare thing, is what I've found. The percentage is quite low, but I think it's getting bigger and bigger over time. I think more and more people are waking up to this way of being now.
And I feel like it's about choice as well. you chose to get curious. You chose yourself. You chose that diagnosis they gave you wasn't what you wanted. So you chose to explore that. I think a lot of people surrender themselves, say, to the medical system or the diagnosis or whatever that is, and they don't want to question it or move through it. But the power of being able to do that, look at what it's done for you. I think it's amazing, and beyond. Let's hear the rest. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's
what you've
right.
done.
So, and what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Like I had the identity of having Crohn's disease for for those 10 years. I am Joe and I have Crohn's disease, and so the identity shift had to happen as well, where I said to myself, like during those 18 months at the beginning of it, when I started visualizing perfect health, and what that could look like, feel like, smell like, sound like, what's happening around me, my emotions started shifting in my body a little, I shifted my identity as well, because I would wake up in the morning and say to myself, thank you. I'd say to the universe, thank you for my perfect health.
Yes.
Right. So I started training my brain, my identity then became health. I have health now. I don't identify with this disease anymore. I said to myself, I identify with health. So that identity shift was another big shift for me. And that takes willpower. It took a lot of meditation for me as well to just stop, because I was working so much. I was like addicted to work. I had a IT
that was your
business,
distraction.
And so I had, and what I visualized was to be able to actually run around with my daughter instead of laying down, in pain. So I just visualize what would it be to be in perfect health, so I could jump around and play like a child with my child, and
so good.
And I got there, about 18 months later, I got there where I did exactly what I visualized. Now I was jumping around and feeling that complete health. Like I had physically reached that point as well. It took a while for the physical to catch up, but, it happened, and it was a lifestyle change as well. And for the most part, I didn't change my job, but like you said, it's very, very difficult for people to do that. But once you've done it, you open up to, it's so worth it, right? And you open up to new things. And that's what happened to me. And so then it's like, okay, this is my purpose in life now. My purpose in life is to share this.
Be a teacher.
Yeah, in some way. I never thought of myself as a teacher before, but it was like, I'm just going to tell everybody. So I started telling people in forums, and I'll shut down a lot of the time, saying this is dangerous. I don't believe you, And so I'm like, but then I ended up in a relationship with someone that had an addiction to alcohol, and I helped this person through that addiction. And I don't recommend this to anybody either, because it wasn't a healthy relationship, but my vision was helping other people. And so that started happening. And she then changed her life, and she did good things for herself. But she also inspired me to become a life coach, so I can then start helping other people to change their lives in whatever way, shape or form they want to. But it's not really changing life. It's more of transformation, breakthroughs that they might want to have, in all different shapes and
helping
forms.
them to deepen their own self-awareness, really, isn't it? Like
That's
bringing them back home to the self.
True. That's right, because the more aware we become of ourselves, and that's our light and our darkness, our light and shadows, and the shadows include the guilt and shame that I had when I was younger, and still working. Even though I was still working through that, I had been letting go and working through the stuff to get to the other side, and then continuing to do that, and really sit and listen with myself. And through that listening to self comes the self-awareness, right? And then we're actually so much more powerful than we think when we start to become more and more aware of what's happening at deeper and deeper level. And it feels like a journey. It feels like it's never ending. There's always more layers to share.
I love it. I'm like a junkie. I'm like, let's go deep. I'm ready. Become addicted to it. What's the next layer? What's going to happen next?
I feel like that way too sometimes, And then other times it's like, oh, I've had enough of this. Why can't it just be, all sun and roses every day,
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's a mate, because I wasn't used to as a child to listen to my emotions,
Yeah.
So that's still a practice for me. But what's happening in my life, it feels like I'm opening up to more and more magic, in my life. And so as I started to help hold space for others to transform, I then I found that there was something else for me as well. So I went to Nepal to help people after the earthquakes. There was so much destruction in Nepal, and I managed to build a team, and we raised some funds, and we went to build some classrooms in a remote village in Nepal where there was so much destruction. So on my mission there, I learned so much. I felt like I went there for 30 days to help them, but when I came back, I felt like it was really me
That's awesome.
that got help more than, because of all the knowledge that I had learned, and what I had learned was the importance of community, right? Because when I went there, I asked university students, how people are going after the earthquakes, and there was a lot of PTSD and a lot of people still struggling to go back to their homes. But when I asked in the remote villages, the English translator, he said, "Oh, everybody's okay here," and I said, "They're generally okay most of the time." I'm like, "Why is that? Why is there such a difference between here and the city?" And he said, "Well, here we have each other. We're really supporting each other, helping each other. We're a community, whereas in the city, it's not like that." And I was like, "Huh." And I got to experience this firsthand with a lot of people in Nepal from different parts and different towns as well. And I became in that. And then I came back to Australia, and I'm like, this is just such a different world, in Sydney. It's like, oh my God, what is it?
Everyone's so insular in their own little world.
Yeah,
Doesn't connect.
Disconnect, But what we do have in Sydney, what I saw was an abundance of so many other things, But the connection and the community was so much more meaningful to me, So I was like, how can I bring the best of both worlds together?
Yeah, that's great.
And it took me a while to figure it out, because like a year later, I went to the United States, to San Diego, and I met with someone who also interviewed me for his organization that was helping people with gut problems and diseases. And he was actually an events organizer in San Diego in the past, conscious type events, which I didn't know. And I went to, what I experienced there, like, was all these amazing events that were bringing people together, and this community that was kind of there between, one part of San Diego and another part of San Diego, and other things that were happening, in all different types of artists and spiritual healers and
all my favorite people.
Yeah, entrepreneurs, all in the conscious space that are kind of like coming together,
Yeah.
And I was really amazed by it, and I just fit right in. I became one
of them, yeah.
Again, one of them in the community. And then I left San Diego, came to Australia, and once again, I'm like, what have I got here? I don't know.
Give me the connection. Where is it?
Yeah, and I was like, what if I can start something up? Again, asking the question, what if
forging the new way. I love it.
Forging the new way, yeah. And I kind of reached a point in my life where, the online coaching thing wasn't working out for me, because and I wasn't sure why, but I discovered that that wasn't where my place was in the world at that time.
Beyond it.
It's kind of like, oh, there's something else for me. Like, there's something else for me than that. And it was, I had this desire to bring, large groups of people together, to come together and connect and build this community, because I wasn't experiencing this community, and I felt like I had this gift because I was able to bring people together for great things in Nepal. So I'm like, well, what can I do here, right?
Build it and they shall come.
Yeah, exactly. And I had reached this point where my bank account was like pretty low, to the point of zero, and I broke down in tears many times, and what am I doing with my life? I'm mounting to nothing. And I was back to this place of no hope.
Survival as well, like just needing to survive.
Yeah, to this place of, and then something was birthed out of that for me. It's like the contrast comes out of, for me, it was like experiencing this darkness again, came another something else. And then my heart just kind of went, that's it. It's like I've got nothing to lose, So I started bringing people together, from like different healers and yoga teachers and people that had, different types of shops and businesses, and, a mesh
all
of
the
different
creatives and the music,
and the sound healers and even DJs and the live music and so it was kind of every month, and I was doing this for donations, and I was just following my heart, pretty much, because I was able to reach this point where I can just stop and breathe and listen to my heart without needing to think too much, and connect to nature through something I call deep listening now.
Yeah.
But really listening deeply, and deep listening is not about the thinking. It's not about what's happening here. It's about
feeling
what's happening in the
heart.
body more, in the heart.
Like the somatic type of it, side of it, the
Yeah,
body.
that's right. The somatic side for sure. And then from that came, and continuing this process and bringing people together, came the creation of Lovefest, which was an event to bring good people together in community, people that are doing good things in community together, to hold space for other people to come in to that as well, in a conscious arena. So that means good food, organic. It was at the time it was plant-based. Also no drugs, no alcohol for this event. Also things like there was meditation and the yoga and the drumming, and there was DJs and live music and sound healing and art workshops and bush tucker workshops and speakers and that kind of thing.
I would have loved it.
and that's how it began, and the vision was to create a space that is so high vibrational that everybody that comes in will just automatically feel it, and that everybody feels the love, and then goes away into their lives and spreads that love to their families and friends, and just sharing.
And they take from it what they need to then, take into their everyday life and beyond.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like
whatever
the catalyst for change, even.
That's right, and it's different for everybody. Like some people come to me and say, after I came to Lovefest, I left my job. It's like, what am I doing in this job I don't even like? Some people have, really slowed down their drinking, and it's like, I don't really need alcohol to be a crutch anymore in my life.
Yeah, so good.
And just have it every now and then in moderation, And some people are like, well, I've just discovered community. I didn't know this even existed. I now have a sense of purpose as well.
I actually heard that one a lot lately, Joe, is that, I always thought I was alone, but then I discovered this, like something like Lovefest, say, and then that sort of changed the whole world, because they're like, I'm not the only one. Other people are feeling this too.
Yeah, that's right. And, the sense of belonging has been a big thing for a lot of people, which I didn't even realize before how important it is. That sense of belonging that comes from it, so
that root chakra, isn't it? It like grounds you, locks you into this earth plane, this earth school. Without that grounding, how can you get along and do what you need to do?
Yeah, that's right. And and there's studies that show that connection, the opposite of addiction, is actually connection. So there's opportunities here to help, or to help people transform and have breakthroughs that aren't even aware of this yet, and so we're looking for ways now to continue to do that.
I love that you said that opposites, that polarity is like, I've never heard that before, and so you've taught me something there, is that like connection and addiction is like, it's like a disconnection from self, even not just community, but from self, like the running away of
definitely disconnection from self. Because
interesting.
what I've noticed is when we're able to connect with ourselves deeper, we're also able to connect with others,
Yes.
you know. And so that's the values of Lovefest. It starts with self. So it's love for self first.
Yeah.
So, and for me, that included that self-love that I had to overcome my disease, which, you know, which included the feeling my guilt and shame. That, to me, that was part of self-love.
Yeah. The
You know.
work.
And so that self-love first and self-healing comes first. And as we can do that, we can then have love for community and
Ripples
give,
out into the world.
yeah. And then from community, it's love for the earth, love for the planet, you know.
Oh, the best. So tell me more about this amazing Lovefest. Is this a festival that you've run from when, and does it happen each year, and how's that looking?
Yeah. So what happened after the first one, I actually, because I didn't have funds to pay for it, I asked for partners because I was on my purpose and I was coming from my heart. I invited people to partner with me to create this event. So it was more of a community started collaboration. And it worked. You know, we had 210 people in the first one, and I ended up taking home $700. You know,
oh, winning, getting paid for your passion.
And it was like, yeah. So it was a big win. So since then, it's been evolving. You know, and it's been evolving with communities down in Central Coast and Newcastle and Sydney, where it's usually 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah.
And then when COVID came, it changed a few things up a little. At the beginning of COVID, like in 2020, we actually thrived during COVID, which is a very weird thing for events. But the reason we thrived is because, as you said to me before, Katie, like most people would have been craving connection.
Yeah.
Right. And so we were able to provide that, but we weren't able to do it successfully in the cities because of the rules.
Yeah.
But we were able to take it into the bush, you know, and into nature, which is even better, right?
Even better, totally.
And so we were able to make it work by having small groups and having smaller groups together to then come together in one larger space for the actual event itself. And it was just month after month, you know, we had, you know, June, August, October, November, December, and then we rolled into January. So we just kept going and going because it was so needed at the time.
Yeah. Would have got a lot of people through it, I guess, with all the segregation and things that were going on, would have actually helped people to move through it a lot easier.
Yeah, exactly. And what happened in November 2021, we organized an event. So there was a few of us that organized an event so we can bring people together regardless of what was happening out there with the segregation. And the way that we did that is by setting clear intentions. Intentions are so important, right? Oh, yeah. As you know, setting really clear intentions that we're bringing everybody together with love in full acceptance of each other and our choices. All right, that was it. It's that simple. And we just held that space and we came together. You know, there were rules that were saying that some people were unable to leave their area if they you know, didn't have a certain procedure. And so what we did is we allowed them to become volunteers of Lovefest, so they could volunteer for us. And they came and help out, and then because of that, it was considered work. Yeah. So they could still come to the gathering legally.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So that's the detail, but we found ways to work within everything. So
no one missed out.
So no one missed out, and we can keep bringing people together in full acceptance of each other and our choices. And that's really important to us. And it's high in our value that there's diversity and that we accept each other's choices. And that worked really well.
It'd be great now to have shifted through the sort of background red tape to be able to do what you need to without any rules now. So where's it now? What's happening with Lovefest these days?
So what's happening with Lovefest these days is, first of all, we have a pretty big team, which is 80% volunteering, and there's 20% funds that come through people that get paid for some of their work, including myself. But 80% of my time is likely volunteering.
Yeah.
So it's a not-for-profit. And my partner, Kat, has been amazing. I've been with her for 2 years, and she's put in so much in many different areas of Lovefest to support as well as some other really good people.
It's like a passion project for you all, because you get so much out of it in return.
Yeah, it's very fulfilling. And so we've held different types of outdoor festivals as well as indoor festivals and events. So now moving forward, we're having indoor events. The next one is Lovefest Bondi in Sydney, which is an indoor festival with 2 or 3 rooms, 2 or 3 areas, including an outdoor area. So it's actually an indoor and outdoor event.
Oh, awesome.
In Bondi, right near the beach at Bondi Pavilion. And that's on the 11th of March. And then we have, we're going to be doing an event in Melbourne. And then there's Northern Rivers. And then there's Sunshine Coast. And we will be coming to Gold Coast / Brisbane as well. And that's on the horizon, and Perth.
Isn't Australia lucky? I love this. You're going like national.
So that's what's coming in the next 12 months or so.
It'd be, what I'd love the most about it is meeting all the beautiful creatives and people in that space, like, that are wanting to be involved in it. I just love that sort of thing. Even when I go to, say, Mind, Body, Spirit Festival or something like that, I just love going around meeting all the stall holders. I don't necessarily want to buy the stuff. I just want to talk to the amazing humans.
Yeah, I know. And I hear that from a lot of people, because I regularly do surveys at the events, which I've been doing surveys since the beginning, since before we started. And the one thing everybody wants the most is connection. It always comes up the highest in the survey, connecting with like-minded or connecting with like-hearted people.
Sometimes you can just be near someone and like, I met someone at a festival once and I'm like, oh, I really like you. I hadn't even spoken to them. I'm like, just like your energy, you're amazing. And I know that there's always would be someone you'd connect with at one of these Lovefest events where you'd be like, friends with them forever because you've met them in this beautiful space.
Yeah, exactly. And there's been a lot of friendships made, and also romances.
Yeah.
And I've met my partner.
Oh, that's the best.
One of these events is really special to me, and I know other people that have done that too, and a lot of new friends. And it's really special.
I love that you love it so much too. It sounds like a real passion project and something that's really changed your life. So if people are interested in finding out more about the work that you do and Lovefest and just these beautiful connected events, what advice do you have for them?
My advice is to step out of your comfort zone. Because that's what I did so many times. And that's probably the most difficult thing for most people before they come to one of these events. And I actually took my first step into an event like this. Going to yoga, for example, for me was a big thing. Like I was someone that grew up, without that. I was more I grew up with this macho kind of mentality, having traditional Italian parents and whatever, and I'm a man and whatever. But, and then needing to go to yoga, I'm like, I've never been to yoga before. So that was the first time I went to yoga. It was me stepping out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And there was like 20 females there, and I was one of 3 men. And I'm like, and I was like, a bit scared and whatever. But I did that. And then I walked away and I'm like, oh, wow, there's really something to this, And then there were other events that I went to that, not necessarily yoga, but it could be a connection event. That was just on meeting people, one for breath work, or another one which was some chakra healing dance thing that was really out there. And each time I stepped out of my comfort zone again and again, and I'd go alone. I would go on my own, and then I'd allow myself to continuously step out of my comfort zone. And I was uncomfortable in that space. I would go there and feel uncomfortable in that space in the beginning, you know, and feel awkward because I used to have social anxiety, you know, and I'd be like,
just push
you know,
through. I love it.
do I look silly? Is anybody going to like me? You know, and then it's that still
All
comes,
the dialogue.
yeah, it still came up for me. But then just being able to sit with it again, it's like sitting with the guilt and the shame. I was sitting with the anxiety and breathe, you know, and it's okay. I'm alive.
Yeah.
You know, I'm okay. You know, nothing's going to kill me, you know, like, and just breathe and be present with it and then allow myself to be that awkward. And then from that place, I started to actually to connect with people. And from these connections came more connect, and then doing that again, I did that again and again, and then connecting with more people and more people. And then all of a sudden, you know, I've got this community. All of a sudden, I'm bringing community together. You know, that was my journey.
Yeah, the best. Joe, the super connector. That's why we're friends, because I'm a super connector too. I just love it. I crave it.
You are, yeah, I can sense that too. Like,
Yeah.
it was just so easy connecting with you, Katie. It just worked.
And I feel like the more aligned we are with ourselves, the more centered we are, the more the right people come into your life. Like you've come into mine. There's people that have connected with me that straight away I'm like, you know, what drew you to connect with me? And they explain it, that they just wanted to. They felt drawn to me. And I'm like, yes, I love this. Keep doing it.
So I'd like to invite everybody to go have a look at the Lovefest page. The website is lovefestaustralia.com. So it's lovefestaustralia.com, all one word. And in there, and it's not .au, it's .com. And in there, there's a gallery, so you can see photos from previous events. And there's an events page there as well. And what we do is we have a calendar of events that are in the community. So at the moment is Sydney community. We're just putting something up for Melbourne, but we're going to be putting up events all around Australia this year. It's a process for us so far. So what the vision is to have one community events calendar, so you can just go there and see what's happening month by month or week by week, you know, and it can be breathwork events or yoga events or dance events or connection events or anything that's in this space that's in alignment. So I'd recommend having a look at that and stepping out of your comfort zone and just going for it.
That's the best advice ever. Thank you so much. So I love that. Step out of your comfort zone, give it a go, and right back to the start, ask questions and get curious, and not just about your own health, but just about life. Like, is there more for me? What if I tried this? What could I get from it? And just really explore that, because so much goodness, so much magic comes from it, doesn't it?
It's true. Yeah. The curiosity of what else is there, or how good can it get, you know, or, you know, what if they're wrong? What if there's another way? You know, I believe there's always another way. There's just, you know, it's just limitless. We have unlimited potential. Yeah. And many authors speak about that when we're able to get into the present moment, especially, you know,
and have that deep gratitude for it as well.
And deep, of course, yeah,
love it.
Deep gratitude, yeah.
So many pearls of wisdom. Thank you so much, Joe, for your time. Get curious, everyone, and keep listening. Next episode, I'm sure there'll be someone just as amazing as Joe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie. Really appreciate this, and it's an honor. And thank you, everyone out there, for listening. I appreciate all of your attention. If you've made it this far, you're amazing. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.